Now shorty said she's sending some files, she's sending my crow with the cab. She didn't screw tight, now it's all on my clothes. You can find me in the lab, urine full of cash, but mommy, the prep is wet if you into whipping that. I'm into my puppets, I ain't into running stats. So come with solid stool for see if I'll send it back. You can find me in the lab, bottle full of crap, but mommy, I got the plates if you into growing that. You're gonna have to wait, though you wanna have it stats. So come give me a hug if you ever want it back. My flow, Sato, my microscope, data, egnos, those nasty things. My hood, PCR, my tools, lab rules. Look on me when you call, better say my name. Ain't you love us way more than you hate us? So doc you mad, we let him dry just cause you made us. I'm that tech by the hood, trying to run these damn lights. You that whiny intern, trying to order more right. Think twice when you're clicking on these labs, come on. These daily crits are the reason why his blood be gone. If you crew over testing, let the mother stickers learn. If you're talking point of care, homie, I ain't concerned. I'ma tell you, Liz Holmes told me drop a blood, ditch the vile stuff. If haters hate, let them hate, but watch the lawyers pile up. Or we can stick just to what works, and that's a bottle of blood. You know where we frickin' be. You can find me in the lab, sputum thick and sad, but mommy, I got the plates if you're into growing that. It's gotta incubate for them in my Caesar bag. So come looking for paps, and I'll transfer you to path. You can find me in the lab, bottle full of crap, but mommy, I got the plates if you're into growing that. You're gonna have to wait, though you wanna have it stats. So come give me a hug if you ever want it back. Don't try to act like you don't know who we be, neither. We in the lab all the time, so pop red tops, homie. Z-Dog Industries, we out.
Hi all, good evening everybody and welcome to AHA Clinics Academy once again. I hope you loved all the startups we did for this. It's still preaching the same message of quality, the same message of laboratory safety and competence, and so we're speaking the same message in various ways. We played one music last time and you're playing this, and then all of this is in a bid to drive the same message. So we're welcome once again to this evening, and I'll be your host. My name is Obinna Okoronko, and today I have the honor of introducing our very distinguished guest who will be delivering and doing justice to our topic this evening. His name is Mr. Patrick Matete. So briefly, I will say a few things about him. Dr. Matete is a medical student with over 25 years of working experience in the medical laboratory field with increasing responsibility. There's about 17 years that he has been in laboratory strengthening activities from startup research laboratories, fully fledged multidisciplinary research laboratories. He's been conducting clinical trials and medical laboratories implementing quality management systems to levels of accreditation to international standards. Dr. Matete is a graduate of the University of Zimbabwe. So he's our own, very own African. Medical technology, then Nottingham Trent University, where he had an MBA, and University of Portsmouth, where he had an MSc in strategic quality management, and International Christian University. He is currently completing his doctorate in healthcare management with Virginia University at Lynchburg. He is also a certified quality auditor with the American Society for Quality. American Society for Quality. Dr. Matete has also studied Lean Six Sigma concept and principles at Villanova University. If you were in our last webinar, we talked about Lean Six Sigma. Dr. Stan West that did some justice on that. So he has studied that with the Lean Sigma concept and principles at Villanova University. He also has an in-depth understanding of ISO standards, mainly ISO 15189, 15190, 22870, 17011, 17043, 17025, and 9001. He's also versatile with auditing, mentoring skills that are vital in assisting medical laboratories in implementing quality management systems. He has mentored and conducted laboratory audits in more than 22 countries spread across 4 continents, and has also facilitated workshops that have trained over 1,000 laboratory professionals. Dr. Matete now currently serves as Vice President for Global Health Partnerships at CLSI, overseeing laboratory strengthening activities in more than 12 countries and 4 continents. He currently serves as a board of chair for the African Society for Laboratory Medicine. I'm sure you can see that the resume of our guest tonight is very rich. I've had the privilege of a preliminary session with him, and I was really convinced in the choice of him to be presenting this evening. So in a few minutes, I'll be handing over the stage to him. And you know our ground rules. Our questions will wait until after his presentation. You can use the chat box to note the questions, or you just wait. And if the questions are not too many, I may it was a privilege to ask some of our questions. So remember, because it is hosted by EHA Clinics Academy, we don't just want you to listen or pretend that you were listening and learning. All right. So there will be a quiz after this after this webinar, after which you'll be able to access your certificates. So the link will be sent to everyone who participated in this webinar. You can go through the video again as many times as you want, and then attempt the quiz questions that will be there. Download your certificate. We want it to be a bit academic. All right, so that's why I'm introducing this. I'll be dropping also in the chat box while we continue our WhatsApp group. So the WhatsApp group, the purpose why we created that is to have an avenue and a platform where we can have direct communication with all those who attend our webinars, so that we'll be able to take care of you and beyond the period that we're having this meeting. Thank you all for joining. Mr. Patrick Matete, good evening. Can you test your mic and be sure it's working?
Yes, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear, sir. We can hear you and we can see you. Yes, sir. All right. So, sir, you can carry on, sir. The time you'll hand over to you now, sir.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you, Obina, for organizing this webinar. And it is my honor and privilege to actually be sharing with you and participating in this webinar. I passionately love sharing as much as I can share. And as a matter of fact, I know I have also been involved in a lot of trainings in Nigeria, probably between 2015 and around 2019. So I think there are a lot of people that actually have benefited from some of the trainings that we have conducted. But today I am here really to talk about what we have been doing, and also give you an understanding of some of the resources that are available as you try to implement quality management system at the different levels or the tiers that you are working in. The key thing is what is available and how can you access it, and to make sure that there is continuity in the work that we are doing. So I'm going to be presenting a few concepts, basically talking about what CLSI has, which is available to everyone. And then I will also talk about what we have done and what you can also do even at your lab level in terms of moving labs forward in implementing best practices. So CLSI, if I may start, is really an organization that is over 50 years old in developing lab and clinical and lab standards. I'm sure some of you know it as...
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Mr. Patrick,
Yes.
I think we lost you there.
Oh, you lost
Okay,
me?
let's give Mr. Patrick a
Yeah, we can hear loud and clear from our side.
few minutes to.
So I think Obina,
Hello?
probably it's your side, because I think the others are hearing.
Hello, Mr. Patrick. I can see your screen, but we can't hear you.
Yeah, we can hear well and loud as well as see the screen.
So I think it's Obina. Obina, your connection may actually be weak.
Oh, please.
Okay.
Sorry,
So
carry on, please.
can I continue?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Please.
All right. So as I was saying, I was just talking about introducing CLSI, what CLSI does, and it's a non-profit organization. However, I think you need to understand how it operates. So as a non-profit, we are an organization which is a member organization, and our membership comprises of government institutions, industry, as well as profession. When we talk about profession, it's us who are here, anyone who is here as a med tech or a doctor or a pathologist, you are part of the profession, and you can actually be a member of CLSI as an individual or even through an institution. It may be your institution that says we want to be a member, and then you can actually participate in CLSI documents development. So we develop best practices, standards, and guidelines using what is called an open, transparent, consensus-based process. What that means is this process brings all those three constituencies, the government, the industry, the professions, on the same table to come up with consensus documents. In other words, documents that make sure that industry is involved, profession is involved, and the government is also involved. And our aim as the organization is really to assist labs to meet and maintain regulatory and public health requirements to improve their testing. As I said, we are a member-driven organization, so we have over 400 individual members. In other words, a person who just says, I want to join as a person. And then we have over 100 industry organizations that actually join, and then individuals with memberships from over 75 countries that are total to almost 24,000 plus. And we do also have volunteers. So anyone who is skilled and an expert in a specific field of medicine or lab medicine is free to actually volunteer in either the development of the standards or volunteer in activities that we do across the world. And then hospitals also have joined as institutions. So we have over 1,200 hospitals and independent laboratory organizations that are members of CLSI. And we also have another category that we introduced about 5 years ago, which is the health systems. And by health systems, we mean if it's a group of hospitals, instead of each hospital joining as an individual site, they can actually join as a group, and the individual, the membership is spread across all the hospitals in their network. And then government organizations as well are part of CLSI. So in terms of what we do, the coverage across the lab disciplines, we do have documents that talk about almost everything that happens in the lab, from automation, clinical chemistry, general lab, hematology, immunology, and microbiology, molecular diagnostics, point of care, and then quality management system in general, as well as vet. We do have documents also that are standards and guidelines that address veterinary requirements. So our documents, sometimes you have seen them. If you have seen some of them, they come, many people call them blue books because our colors are blue. And because of that, most of the books are identified as blue books, but they cover all the spectrum of the lab in general. And we also develop job aids just to make sure that for those that are not able to read the full book, which may be like 200 something pages, they can actually just have a quick guide or a quick job aid to help them implement that standard. I think what I also wanted to talk about is what is in red there, that CLSI has a lot of COVID documents or resources that are free and they are online. And I shared some of the documents with Obina to make sure that if there's anyone who needs them, you can go on CLSI website and you'll be able to get them for free. And CLSI also is really an organization that is global in the sense that the membership, as we said, comes from over 75 countries, and that makes it a real global organization. And also CLSI plays a key role in ISO. We have been the secretariat for ISO TC212, the technical committee that oversees the production or the development or revision of ISO 15189 as well as 17025 and the point of care standard 22870 as well. So we have taken that role and we continue to manage that on behalf of American Standards Institute here, but that's our role at ISO. And we have been working also with WHO in different forums. I think even the development of the lab quality management system that's driven through WHO, that was developed with partnerships between CLSI, CDC, and WHO. And then we are doing a lot of training as well globally. So the Global Health Partnership, which is what I lead, is really the heart of CLSI's mission implementation. So we, besides developing the documents, the Global Health Partnerships takes those developed documents and promote their use worldwide through training, through marketing those documents to make sure people understand how they are used and improve their operations at any level. So we take those documents and customize it to the settings of each country and wherever we are. And the GHP actually started over 17 years ago in 2005. That's when we started. And we have provided technical assistance to over 22 countries, mostly in Africa, but we have also been in Eastern Europe, Central Asia, the Caribbean, and also here in the United States of America. Currently, we have supported over 100 labs to achieve and maintain international accreditation in about, I would say, about 8 countries that are also spread across 4 continents. And our staff and our contractors, as well as our volunteers, they travel and help working side by side each of the labs to implement those benchmarks or the global standards. So some resources, as I said, I also want you to know the resources that are so much available. And as I said, there are some that are free, and I want you to be able to take that opportunity to use whatever is free, because some of the documents are sold and you may not be able to get them because of your resources as well. But for the free documents, I would encourage everyone to be able to access them and see how they can help you where you are, help you improve your testing, your work, so that the patient at the end of the line gets the best service from our labs. So some of these documents, like here, the key document for quality management system is really the QMS-01, but this one is not a free document. It's for sale. And then there are free documents. This one, I think it's a very important document, a framework for using CLSI documents to evaluate clinical laboratory measurement procedures. So this is a free document which you can get anytime if you log onto our website. We also have documents that describe laboratory safety based really on ISO 15190, which is the standard that has been dealing with ISO here, and also some guidance from the WHO lab biosafety manual referenced in these documents. And we also, as I said, the key document is really the QMS-01 because it's mostly explains the whole quality management system, especially when you're looking at the 12 quality system essentials. It goes into detail to explain each of them and sets your QMS requirements so clearly so that you can actually use that document. And then one of the things that we want you to remember is those QMS principles that are listed there. We really want whatever you do in everything that is done in the lab, the purpose is really to make sure that we remain customer focused. We also remain with a leadership that is robust to address the changes and the needs that are cropping up. As you know, lab environment is always evolving, and with new infections, like we just had the COVID and the Ebola and the different new emerging infections that may come. So that requires a robust leadership that is able to actually lead in times of crisis, emergencies. So that's part of the QMS, how we can develop a leadership that is responsive and proactive in dealing with the challenges that arise in the environment. And then the personnel is key, because without people that are competent, obviously there is not much we can do. And then the processes themselves that the personnel uses, and then how they improve on those processes, and also using evidence-based decisions to make sure that the changes or the improvements that are done are consistent with the trends. And relationship, because the lab is not a silo. It's not working in its own world. We are working with nurses, how we interface with all the clients, interface with the clinicians, interface with the community. It's very important for us as lab people to understand that we need that. So this is just to remind you again of what the quality system essentials are. And I know that probably majority of you are familiar with SLIPTA, and the SLIPTA was really built based on the 12 quality system essential. And the only caveat which I just want to let you know is what is in the latest version of SLIPTA is kind of different because it still needs to be updated. So some of the naming of the quality system essentials has changed, but these are the latest naming based on the CLSI QSEs. And this presentation, again, is going to be available to everyone, I hope, at the end of this presentation. I have shared that with Obina. So documents in your quality management system standard must actually be the bedrock of your quality management system, because if you don't document what you are doing, then in quality we say it's not done. So it's very important for us to make sure that as we go through each of the QSEs that are shown here, they are like bricks that build the foundation of what we do. If we are to implement the quality management system, if we are to implement any international requirements, it has to be built upon the quality system essentials. So those 12 are building blocks that you need to make sure that you can systematically implement a sustainable program that you can follow or someone can use even in your absence. Because if we build a system, it must be so strong that if you die, the system doesn't die. The system will be able to continue, and that's a quality management system. It's not dependent on an individual, but it's a structure that supports the whole as a system, and whoever comes should be able to fit into it. So when we apply this quality system essential across the path of workflow, we'll be able to develop a system that can be sustained, a system that can be trusted, a system that can be trusted, and our patients at the end of the tunnel will be receiving the best results. They will receive them on time. The doctors will be able to use those results in a meaningful way as they manage their patients. Now, I'll talk briefly about some of the trainings that we have done and how we think you can also do them. They work for you because the information is available. It's not something that's hidden. We try as much as we can to share broadly, because if we don't share, then we are being selfish. So as CLSI, we believe so much in sharing, especially the things that are available, which don't need money. We want those ones to be shared as broadly as possible. So our approach really, as we help labs, or our technical assistants approach, is the foundation is really the standards. So, and those standards and the documents that CLSI has, they help us to support, to guide, to inform, and to advise and to assist labs as they are implementing their quality management system. And it does start obviously where you are. We need to know where you are before we can assist you and see. So knowing where you are is the assessment process. We assess, identify the gaps, and then we work with you to address those gaps and continually improve until it becomes a culture where you know quality management system is the way of doing things. You continually improve, analyze your continuous process, and then refine and make changes where necessary. And again, this is just a cohort that we did in one of the countries. We started with what we called the identification of a partnership, and then we did an assessment. In phase 2, phase 3, we sat down with the sites now knowing the gaps that are there and plan to achieve accreditation and how we plan to do that. And then phase 4 was another gap assessment, especially after you do initial phase, you need to also make sure you are continually checking the improvement to make sure there is progress towards a set goal of accreditation. And then phase 5, another technical assistant, which may be mentoring or training based on the gaps that are found in the assessment, and then continual improvement, refining our training and mentoring outcomes to make sure that we are on track. And then the preparation and readiness for an external review, we also work with the site to prepare for that. And the final one being the accreditation application. And obviously, number 9 is when the lab is listed as accredited and they have achieved that milestone. So we have seen that this works, this model works, but we can customize it at each and every site, because one site may actually not need all the 9 phases. It may actually be far ahead. So we customize this program to meet the needs of each part that we are working with. For example, we can actually just have a 3-phase or a 4-phase structure like this one, which is also our mentorship framework, which has been popular. So we just start with gap assessment, assist the labs in documentation, then implementing those documents, and then continuous improvement. And in the process, sometimes continuous improvement may be longer because there is a lot of tweaking and changing this and that, and then labs can attend and maintain accreditation. And because of COVID, we have also managed to evolve in our training programs. We used to have face-to-face trainings, but those have actually changed because now we are actually having also virtual trainings. So some of the workshops can be done virtually. Some can be done in person where possible, just to make sure that we don't stop. We continue even in the advent of COVID, which has been preventing a lot of the travel. And so this slide is very important. If you forget anything, I want you to understand this slide. Why are we implementing quality management system? It's very important because as the lab or as a point of care testing site, what you need is to make sure that you are providing appropriate results and in a timely manner with a judicious use of resources. So those 3 points are so key, especially in our limited resource environment, to be able to make sure that we don't just test, but we test appropriately. And then once we test appropriately, we make sure that those results are not sitting on our benches. They go where they are needed, because obviously if a doctor requests a test, it means he is hoping that the test will give him information to make a decision on a patient. So it's pointless for us to test and then keep the result to ourselves, or delay to convey the result to the doctor, because then the doctor is still stuck. They are waiting for a result to come through. So it's important for us to make sure we test, and then appropriate testing, and then timely release of the results, and even the testing itself, and judicious use of resources. As I said, we are in resource limited environment. We don't want to be just testing at willy-nilly, or repeating or doing things over and over again unnecessarily, because we are not sure of our results. That's why when we have a quality management system, we are saying if a result is tested in Abuja, in a lab in Abuja, and if the doctor says, I don't trust the lab that was the results from Abuja, you can tell them, go to any lab, even internationally, and test, and you should be getting something similar, or something around what we got. That's quality management system. So what we then do in terms of implementing those three things that are on the left of this slide is to make sure that we describe what we do, we document what we do, we implement what we have documented, we measure to see and monitor whether what we have documented and described is effective to meet the requirements of the resources, the requirements of the users, the clients, the doctors. So this is why quality management system is important, because it helps the lab to deliver consistent, high quality, and cost-effective service. And that's the essence of even of ISO 15189. And by the way, when I prepared these slides, the new standard had not been released, but now, so it's ISO 15189 2022 standard, because it was released beginning of this month. So that's important. And then also remember, we want to be more timely and accurate in our release of results, and safe results, more efficient workplace, improved staff morale, increased public confidence in the care that we are providing. And how do we do that? Because QMS assures us first that we are doing a good thing, and it assures our clients, because the clinicians can depend on our results. And what it also does, implementing QMS, it reduces our errors in the lab, it reduces any violations like safety, it diminishes variability in patient results, as well as lowering your costs, the overall cost of running your lab. So that's why it's so critical that you implement a quality management system. And it enhances your ability to reduce and eliminate errors, as we said. And risk management, the new standard actually has so much description on risk and emphasis on risk management. The labs need to be aware that of our risks, especially the risks that are caused by false or erroneous results, and how they impact our clients, and not only our clients, but the community, because if a lab in a community is continuously issuing wrong results or erroneous results, it doesn't just affect one patient, it affects a whole community. And QMS also helps us in meeting our customer expectations. As I said, doctors and our patients, they rely on a result that is going to help the clinicians in managing the condition that they have. So we need to do a better job in making sure that we are not just pumping out results, but we are pumping out correct, accurate, and timely results that a doctor will be able to use effectively to manage the patient. And QMS also helps us to sustain the objectives of quality, and then making sure that we can meet all regulatory and accreditation requirements. And in conclusion there, so in our training, what I also want you to know is the training that we are doing now, CLSI shifted a lot. We shifted in the sense that in our training now, we are trying to make sure that there is a local component. So there is a sense of ownership of the QMS by the labs, by the country. We used to actually do everything, go in a country, set it up, do the training, but now we actually mentor the local people in the country to make sure that this is a country-driven program. This is something that the country can sustain, because we don't know how long donors like PEPFAR are going to be hanging around. If they go, we will still have sick people in our community. So how do we make sure that this work that we have implemented through donor-funded projects is sustained? So we try to make sure that we implement QMS with the locals and then train them, mentor them to make sure that they are also trainers and mentors of more people. So remember, everyone has a responsibility in quality management system. It's not just the quality officer, it's everyone, from the person who collects the sample, to the person who tests the sample, to the person who reports the result. So in this slide, we're just showing a cascade of all the people that are involved, even the collection itself, identification of the patient, and then the interpretation of the result. In the whole chain, quality management system must be in place. So my take-home message for everyone is, wherever you are, regardless of the size of your lab, what you are doing can be quality driven. So you can actually implement quality in the small way. It may be a small lab, it may be a small point of care. It doesn't matter. What you do matters to the patient that's behind the sample you are handling, or behind that test that you are performing. So that's why it's so critical for us to always be QMS, or quality management system, conscious, because we want to be able to serve the community in an impactful way. I always tell my students that just imagine that one day your sample will be in a lab like where you are working at. And can you imagine the person who is testing your sample not being competent, not following procedure, not testing it on time, not even knowledgeable of what they are doing? Can you imagine the impact, or how you would feel if you know that your sample is being tested by someone like that? So in conclusion, all of us at one point, you and I, we are going to be patients, needing the same services we are offering right now. Can we set a precedence where what we set now, the people we train now, they will do quality work regardless of who they are testing? Even if it's the president of Nigeria coming to be tested, I know a lot of people, when they hear the president is being tested, they want to look for the best person. It shouldn't be that way. They must be able to say, whoever is testing today, because we know they are doing a quality work, they will handle whatever comes their way because they are competent and they do a good job. So thank you so much for listening, and I hope we can take some questions, and I conclude my presentation here. Over to you, Obina.
Thank you, Mr. Patrick, for the wonderful presentation. Obina, please.
Hi, Obina. I think you're on mute.
Okay, there are a few questions that has been submitted.
Okay.
The first question is, when do you need to increase the implementation of QMS?
Can you repeat the question, Doctor?
When do you need to increase the implementation of QMS?
Okay. Yeah, that's a good question. And I think I can just say, don't take more than you can chew. So just like the Slipter, it says it's a stepwise approach. So once you implement one phase and you are comfortable now that this phase is implemented, you can move to the next step. So don't try to do everything at once. So try to identify, like if you are a smaller lab, try and identify the small hanging fruit and implement those. And as you go, then you kind of like move up and focus on the heavier QSE or quality system essentials that may need a lot of work. So do it step by step, and don't be too quick, because sometimes if you are too quick, what happens is as you continue to add on, what you have already accomplished, you may actually lose it. So you don't want to lose what you have accomplished. You want to consolidate what you have accomplished and then move on to the next step in implementing or scaling it up as you go step by step.
Thank you, Mr. Patrick. The next question is, what is CLSI's source of funding? How can CLSI support Nigerian medical laboratory scientists?
Okay, that's also a good question. So CLSI, as I mentioned at the beginning, it's a not-for-profit organization. So we are registered as a non-profit organization. So we don't make money per se, but what we have done in Africa and elsewhere, the projects that we have participated in, some of them have been supported through PEPFAR, some of them have been supported through Global Fund, some of them have also been supported through UNAIDS, and I think the Clinton Foundation, as well as there's one more, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So they for example, what normally happens is they may issue a request for proposal, and if we think we have a partner that needs the work that we are doing in Nigeria, then we can partner with them and write that proposal and get the funding to support the work in that scope.
Thank you. Next question from Dr. Henry is, in your experience with hospitals in Nigerian health sector, what's your take with the level of performance in terms of QMS implementation, especially with government hospitals?
Okay, so I think my experience, based on what we did in Nigeria, we were working also in government hospitals, and I think the military hospital, yes, one of the military hospital in Abuja. From that perspective, I think there is a lot that has happened, or that we managed to do working with the labs there. But my response may not be complete because it was just in Abuja. I didn't get to go outside of Abuja. So based on what I saw in Abuja, there was a lot of improvement and progress in implementing quality management system.
Thank you. The next question is from Mr. Maxwell Abadan. The question is, does CLSI have QMS approach for JCA accreditation? And the second continuation of the question is, what is the recommended timeline to achieve accreditation for a new lab?
Okay, good questions, all good questions. So let me start with the last one, recommended estimated time to accreditation. It depends. In my experience, I have seen labs that have been accredited from start to finish within 5 years, and others have been accredited within 2 years. And the fastest lab that I have on record was accredited in 1.5 years. And the reason that lab was fast is it was a new lab. It was starting from scratch. So when they were even designing the lab, they had the quality management system. So when they set up the systems and everything, equipment, when it came into the lab, it was validated and everything was being done based on a documented quality management system. So all they needed after the start of the lab, the lab started functioning, was to generate evidence that their quality management system is working, because you cannot be accredited if you have no records. Most of the accrediting bodies, they want to go 6 months back to show that this is something that you have consistently been doing for the past 6 months. So that's why it then took them even 1.5 years to make sure that they generate those records and they do management reviews and all those other things, continual improvement to document that their system was working. So there is no fixed time, but it depends on where you are also in the level of implementation. If you start at step number 2, 3, you may move faster to get to accreditation than someone who's starting from 0. Then the other question that was asked, I think what is important is, so in our programs, majority of our programs, we are trying to make sure that we work with the countries and driven by the country strategic plan. Especially for government hospitals or for government institutions, we want to make sure that the programs that we implement are driven by that plan, not through CLSI. So we want as many people that can come and tell us, okay, this is what we need, even in a document wise, what kind of document do you want supporting you? And then the standards that are required at your level can actually be developed. I don't know if I answered the second question. Was that the second question?
The second question was, does CLSI have QMS approach for JCI accreditation? Oh,
for JCI accreditation, yeah. So CLSI and JCI, we are partners. Well, no, I don't want to say partners, but we work together very well. So what we do is we try not to interfere with what they do. So, and they also try not to interfere with what we do. So mainly the hospital, we have stayed away from anything to do with accrediting hospitals, because here in the US, they are very strong in hospital accreditation. But now they have started the lab accreditation program as well. So what we have been doing, we have had several meetings with them in terms of how we can harmonize our approach so that there is no confusion between, oh, I'm doing JCI or I'm doing ISO accreditation. It's just building a quality management system which is accreditable either through JCI or any other accrediting organization.
Thank you, sir. Next question from Uma Bello is, how can we checkmate QMS is working in our facility?
How can we check what?
How can we checkmate QMS is working in our facility?
Well, yeah, please repeat the question again because I didn't get it.
How can we checkmate whether the QMS is working in our facility?
Oh, how can you check whether QMS is working in your facility, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So basically, you can use some tools that are already there. I don't know if one of the simple tools is even the Slipter checklist itself. You can go through but what I want to warn you, if you are using a tool, don't just go and say, do we have documents? And you say yes. Do we have SOP for this? And you say yes. No, that's not enough. What you need to do is when you are checking, let's say the questionnaire or the checklist asks, does the lab have SOPs? You are not just checking if they have SOPs. You are checking if they have SOPs that are relevant and that are being used and that are being effective in the performance of a procedure. So you can use various checklists, and some of them you can even download. CAP has checklists that you can use, and JCI also has checklists that you can use, and CLSI also has checklists that you can use to assess the readiness of your quality management system. But either way, don't just tick, tick, tick. Check to make sure that what is documented is actually what is being done. For example, if they say we add 5 drops of this solution to that, don't just say, oh, they have this procedure. Go and actually observe, is this what is the documented procedure being practiced as documented?
Thank you. And multiple attendees have requested the same question. how can one be a member of a CLSI, and how can one join as a volunteer and work as a volunteer for the CLSI?
Okay, so we do have, I think I'll forward the information to Obina in terms of how you can be a member. For just being a member and getting information, you don't even need to pay anything. You just need to, we need to have your information, then we can be sending you updates and emails. But if you want to access documents that are not for free, that's where maybe you may want to be a member, because a paying member. Because a paying member, there are benefits. You can get some documents for free if you are a paying member. But if you send, if I send you the information, you can log in and check your preferences. What do you want as an individual or an institution? Because an institution or remember I said a health system, maybe it's the whole group of hospitals or labs. You can join. It's actually better for you to join as an institution, because that way then you can access all the documents electronically, and even those that are for free and those that are for sale. There are certain membership levels where you can actually get them all as part of the package of your membership.
Thank you, Mr. Patrick. The last question: how can a laboratory partake in the training of the locals by CLSI? What does it entail?
So that's a good question. So it's that one is a very difficult question, because what we normally do as a not-for-profit organization, we normally have not been doing trainings outside of what has been funded either by PEPFAR, by CDC, by Global Fund. So when we do those workshops, normally they are done because the Ministry of Health in the country, let's say Nigeria, may actually say, okay, we got funds from CDC or funds from Global Fund, and we want CLSI to train our people, especially those in the hospital, the government hospitals. Then we just come and train specifically to the request of the government. However, if it's a private institution, we can enter a private arrangement to do that, of which, of course, as a not-for-profit, we would require some support financially to be able to do that.
Thank you very much for all the answers, Mr. Patrick. Obina, please.
Okay, thank you very much for all the answers, truly. It's important to, I think somebody asked how long it will take. May I also just mention that EHA Clinics is JCI accredited, and also ISO 15189-2012 accredited, and we achieved the ISO accreditation in about a year and 2 months. That's about 14 months. But of course, that came with a lot of effort and a lot of work. But I'm saying this, that it is possible. It is possible. So by the time we send you some of the guidance documents that will be sent by CLSI, and you check through the ISO documents online, even though I'm sure Mr. Matete mentioned, and you may have found that yeah, so 15189-2012 now has a more recent and updated version, the 15189-22. Okay. So, so while some laboratories or organizations have just achieved 15189-2012, 2022 is there. Of course, you know that nothing is static. You know, there's always improvement and all that. So I'm sure all laboratory heads would have gone back to the bench to start bringing up to speed what they already have on ground. So you can still drop your questions, those who are still asking questions. Some of these questions will be compiled, sir, and will be forwarded to you, so that if you can still attend to them, you can send the answers for us via mail, and we can get the answers here. And then, so whatever documents do you want the attendees to have, you can just forward them to me. We have a platform via which they can we can make it accessible to them. But we want to say thank you very much for your time and for the wealth of experience that you have here shared with all our attendees. We appreciate you, and Yes, I saw that you've sent me the slides, so the slides will also be forwarded to our attendees. Thank you very much, Mr. Patrick. We hope that we can still do this again in the new year. So for us at EHA Clinics Academy, we want to say Merry Christmas in advance to everybody, to Mr. Matete and everybody here, the team that is helping to put this together, and we wish you a fabulous new year to come. Of course, EHA Clinics Academy will be bringing very beautiful educational content in the new year. We're diversifying into so many areas of interest, all right, apart from the regular bench work. And if there are interests that you attendees have, you want to be looked into, why not? You can always reach us via mail, and we will see how we can put together a program that will cater for that. But thank you very much for attending. Thank you very much for being part of this. We want to say we're closing the academy for the year 2022 with this wonderful session with Patrick Matete. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, sir, for your time. And I want to say, yes, sir. Good evening to everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you, Mr. Siva, for standing in for me. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Bye.